Hey, Mama.
So
How are you?
fabulous. How are
Good to
you?
be on this couch with you
Thank you.
to talk a little bit. Why are we here today?
To discuss love.
Oh, what about love?
Stop.
What about love? Stop.
Um,
Do you remember how we met?
of course I remember.
What's your recollection?
My recollection of when we met, I knew that I was going to meet a blonde gentleman. I had had readings about it. Other people that saw it and brought it to my attention. And I knew it would be outdoors somewhere. And I just kept seeing the Southwest region of America. And my first day that I was not working at South by Southwest, a bunch of our roommates were like, yo, we have a set at Backwoods and Bonfire stage, so you got to come. So I was like, that's how I'll start my day. And I walked up and I'd never seen a green so green. I was like, yo, it's about to happen. And I saw this blonde gentleman sitting by himself and he wasn't talking to anybody. And it was just a very content vibe. And that's how I am when I'm out by myself. Like I'm like usually by myself. And I liked how I could observe you in the wild prior to us meeting to see how you really are. And I liked it a lot.
Oh, I love that. My POV is I was by myself, of course. We had set everything up, the stages, all the production, this, that. And sometimes that shows. I've always been like that, is just kind of go off to myself and jot in my notebook or just feel my own vibes. And I saw this young lady who was beautiful. She walked into the room and the room lit up. But I saw you were with a bunch of people and I was like, oh, someone's her man there. So me, the respectful human that I am, I would not look in your direction just because I was like, that's not my vibe.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
Because I don't need attention.
I love giving you attention now, though.
I
All
love
the
your
attention in the world. I was there, and then I remember for somehow EJ was DJing, and we caught ourselves in the room, and you're like, hey, what's your name? And I was like, I looked left, I looked right behind me, I was like, are you talking to me? She's like, yeah, you. And then we just started talking. I remember that night we went out.
I put you as my emergency contact. I said you're the most responsible person I think was in Texas at that moment. So I said you were now responsible for me moving forward. Nailed it.
Then we spoke and we said, from our first conversation, you said, I'm from here and you're from here and this and that. And now, obviously, we live together in our home, which brought me back to my childhood neighborhood where you actually live. We met in Texas, and it happens to be, I could walk outside of our back patio now and see the home my mother lived in for years. So talk about some serendipity. But wow, what a beautiful way to meet, and a lot of beautiful things. I'm very grateful, very grateful. We had prepared a couple questions today for each other. So what makes you qualified to be in a healthy relationship?
For me, or for our situation specifically, but anybody could apply it to themselves. We were self-aware enough to do the work on ourselves that was needed, like work on our triggers, our wounds, coping mechanisms, unhealthy patterns, to really examine those and like work on them separately so that we could get ourselves to a frequency that we would attract and also accept a healthy partner and a healthy partnership. For me, anything that triggers me, I'm super grateful for it. It's frustrating in the moment, but I think I'm at a point where like, if I'm triggered, this is the last one. Like that's it. What I do with this is like gonna set the pace period, and I'm too aware to not just address it and knock it out right now. Like that would be childish, and I would actively be having to do it intentionally. And I feel you're the same way as well. Like once you're aware of something, you're on it.
No, 100%. I feel that leading up to that moment, there was a lot of internal work going on because you have to show up in a relationship. I've always loved myself, right? In a sense of
You?
in a very humble way, because I believe in how I came up, and I believe in a lot of things quirks that I had as a kid that served people and was positive living in a sense. But with that said, to show up in a relationship show up in a relationship where you're on a healing journey and you're able to talk about things, your honesty is on point, your truth is on point. It always has been, but when you're in a situation where you have a very sound foundation, you're able to bring that to a partnership, because a partnership is a 50-50 situation, right? It is a true partnership. And if you can bring positivity, if you can bring your superpowers to that partnership, you're so much stronger. You're so much more able to get through things. I think if we have little here and there, which we rarely do, we get over it in a second. And that's about being healed. And that's about,
Literally. Thank you for that.
100%. I mean, there's still a lot. I mean, there are triggers that, we've both been in other relationships to where some of these things still come out, and that's just natural. But when they do, if you're aware of it and you recognize it and you go in your toolbox and you're like, there's my tool for, to turn this one into a positive, we do that. And that's, it takes a lot of back work, and it also is something that it's a gift. It's a gift.
Absolutely.
And you being a psychic medium and being someone that is very intuitive and what have you, and really reads energy, there's no faking it around you. Tell me about if I could ever fake my energy around you, and tell me how you feel.
Oh my gosh. You've attempted many times, because that's one of your trauma responses. For me, it's maddening. Because like I smell it, I taste it, I hear it, I feel it in my body. And I'm like, who are you trying to bullshit? And like, but just not get in my ego where I take it as like a chest bump, or you trying to bullshit me. It's more of, okay, he's had a pattern of this likely his whole life because X, Y, and Z. So to be able to understand you and empathize with you, like I have no reason not to give you empathy and grace, especially when I am exactly who I am as a human being. And you have unlimited empathy and grace for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Grateful.
That's
But you feel so good to my body. Like you're like my crystal.
Energetically. I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's a very mutual feeling. But again, I think what else happens is the respect we have for each other, because we both bring our A games to the relationship.
1000%.
If someone in a relationship does not bring their best, that's when you start to get into issues. That's when you start, or even if someone in the beginning is love bombing and what have you, and then they're like, oh.
But see, for me, that's where you have to be in your toolbox hardcore when you meet anybody, whether it be friend, a potential partner, somebody at a job. Like for me, anytime I meet somebody new, I'm like, how do I feel in my body as a result of being in your energy? Like, do I have a good reaction? Like, is my stomach upset? Am I starting to get a headache? Like, how am I receiving you? And also, like, what am I picking up off of you? So if I'm giving you something, if I tell you something about myself that's positive, and I see even the slightest micro expression of like just something, that's it. Because I let the little things go where I would recognize them very early on within moments of meeting somebody. But then, of course, because of our wounds, we convince ourselves that, no. So it was just a second. No. And then 6 months later, you're devastated or just whatever. But like your intuition told you first. You were the first to know. I also, like for a partnership, I think about in terms of, would I ride out a storm with you? Like what attracts me to you? Is it my healthy brain or is it my wounds? Like where am I pulling from? Like with you, like because if the vibe's off, it could be like a vain thing. Not specifically that you or I would behave that way, but other people, like it's just important to check in with yourself and be like, if everything cool that we do right now, if that stopped on a dime, like, would I be in a box with them for a couple months, potentially, like, under a bridge? Like, would that be a vibe still? Like, and like, with you, oh my gosh, what a fun box that would be. The party box.
Right. I simply, obviously, when you first meet somebody, you have a feeling. Obviously, I felt very comfortable with you. You've mastered the art of peopling, as I've mastered the art of peopling, right? So you can light anybody up and they're like, oh my gosh, she's in love with me. And it's very genuine, whether you're not or you are. You're not a bullshitter. You literally have truth across your neck. That would take some real coglione to put truth and you not be a truthful person. But what the work that I did prior to meeting you and getting to there was really about not being in my feelings or we live partly in the astral as well. So we have that magic dust that we feel like, oh, everything is roses, right? But with that said, I followed the facts. I followed you showing up. I followed you saying something and coming through with it. I followed the facts of you just coming with real tangible facts of showing up. And to me, that's where I was able to be more vulnerable and put down my guard and be able to trust in a way, right? Because of the facts that you were always showing me of who you are as a person, rather than it just being a feeling of, yeah, she's beautiful. Oh my gosh, she's sexy. Oh my gosh, but as you said earlier, ignoring all these red flags like this, and that.
Just dodge them.
Right. Just because physically and you're a charmer and what have you. It's the facts of the love that you show me every day that has gotten me to know that eternity is my mission, is our mission.
Period.
Is us mission. But with that said, it's just, what would you recommend to somebody when they meet somebody looking for love, wanting real relationships? What would you tell them to look out for?
Oof, man. Protecting that. It's hard out here. I would say if you're vetting somebody, obviously, first of all, how you feel in your body, what the energy feels like, because people show up as their representative when you're first meeting them. So if you can cut through that pretty quickly, I don't know, it depends on your intuition level. But if you don't have great intuition, I would ask very specific questions about moral questions or religious questions, just whatever it is that'll kind of draw out something, and you'll catch, like I said, the micro expressions real quick, and you'll see if you align. You can always tell.
What else? You're so good at this.
Oh, gee, thank you so much. Figure out if you're even on the same page. Do you want the same things? And you don't even have to ask somebody. I don't ask anybody anything. I'm going to lay it all out. Even with you, I'm like, listen, there's boom, boom, boom in my life. Boom, boom, boom. I have 2 children. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a partnership, blah, 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 blah. These are my traumas. This is how I worked through them. What say you?
You sure did. The first night at the club, which we don't really go to the club, but there we went out.
Day.
We did. And you were insta.
Oh, because I don't make a habit of wasting my time or anybody else's. This is what I'm looking for, point blank. Mm-hmm. Are you going to rise to the occasion or no? Because if not, cool. I love that you're a vibe. We'll probably be friends.
Respect. Thank God we're on the same page.
Thank God we're on the same page.